Good evening, my friends, and thank you for being here with me for this video, which is the third video in a 5-video series on some INFJ advice, random INFJ advice that I kind of thought about just from my own experiences in life in general and all sorts of other stuff. So I'm hoping that these are helping. This is the third one, so if you haven't seen the prior two, I would urge you to just check a couple of videos ago and see those. There should be links somewhere. I'll put links in things. I'm usually really bad about that, but I'll do my best. The first video that we had was on developing self-confidence as an INFJ. The second one was setting boundaries. Tonight's the big one, which is how to have gratitude and using gratitude in order to stay balanced. So I'm going to get into a little bit of cognitive function talk in this one, and then we're going to talk about gratitude in general and why it's good for you and it's healthy for you, and particularly as an INFJ, why it is critical to use gratitude to keep yourself a balanced and healthy INFJ. So without any further ado, let me further ado things. I'm so awkward. So I'm trying not to edit these that much. I might cut that out. No, I'll leave it in. It's fine. That stays. If you haven't already, please, pretty please, give me a follow on Instagram. It's the only other social media platform that I'm really on. I have ditched Facebook and Twitter. I can't do those. But I'll leave a thing down there somewhere about my Instagram. And yeah, give me a follow. And if you do that, you'll see a really cool little video that I took of me and my pet snake, Miss Penelope von Squigglebottom, Princess of Noodleham. So please do that. On to the topic at hand, which is having gratitude. That's really random. I'm so random tonight. This should be really interesting, people. Come with me for a ride here, right? Here we go. So having gratitude. And gratitude to stay balanced. And what I mean by gratitude when I came up with a topic for this video and really wanted to talk about the subject was being thankful and being thankful for the things that are around you every day and how to really dig into that and recognize them and practice gratitude, because gratitude is kind of like a skill, or at least reaching out with it is kind of like a skill. And it can be a little nerve-wracking because having gratitude and practicing it is something that gets you to reach out into a sensory world. More on that really soon too. So this is what I want to kind of touch on and all of these things. Now, if you see me looking off to the side, just like before, I have some notes that I wrote down, and it's a very small font, but I think I got this. And this sort of helps me just kind of guide my way through this whole thing. The first thing I wanted to talk about is as INFJs, how we are abstract thinkers. And so remember, in your cognitive function stack, right, you have your introverted intuition. Your intuition is that primary function. It's what's gathering all of this information about your world constantly, and it is subconscious. You don't really realize it's going on. It's definitely under that surface. And it is collecting all of these pieces of information and just kind of throwing them all together in a somewhat organized fashion, and starts to put those things together to make pictures of things. And that is how you basically perceive the world, and it draws on your prior experiences and things that you've been through and experienced in order to kind of make a determination. When it appears in your brain and when you are thinking about it in conscious thought, then you are using your next function, which is external feeling, which is to, absorbing the feelings and emotions of others. And then your third function, which is introverted thinking, which is that logical brain of yours and all of the little gyrations it's going through to sort of logically step through what it is that you are experiencing at any given moment. Last on this stack is external sensing, and that is one that we really want to try and hammer on in terms of gratitude. And so it's kind of funny. I saw this analogy somewhere and I thought it was really cool. And I wish I knew who wrote the analogy. I went through some of my prior books about INFJs and things like that, and I don't recall, I didn't see it, and I don't recall exactly which one it is. So this is not my analogy. Credit is totally due to somebody else. I'm sorry, I just don't know who it is right now, but I'm going to tell you the analogy, and here we go. Imagine a car, and your cognitive functions are in this car. Now, in the driver's seat, perhaps 30 years old, very responsible, great driver, perfect 20/20 vision, obeys all laws of the road. That is your intuition. It is perfectly capable of steering this car that is you and steering it in the right direction and handling everything that is coming at it. It is your primary function. It is the strongest, the most balanced, and the most adaptable for any circumstance. Second, and in the passenger seat, is a 20-year-old external feeling. Also responsible and can drive, though sometimes makes decisions that maybe aren't great, because, 20. But for the most part can really handle it. And if intuition needs to take a break and switch out and have somebody else drive, external feeling is perfectly able and capable of doing so. Behind the driver's seat, right behind intuition, is, let's say, a 12-year-old. Now, sure, in a pinch, a 12-year-old can steer the car, maybe reach the pedals, prone to perhaps not making the best decisions at any given moment. And that is internal thinking, introverted thinking, right? And, it can handle it, and it can, your introverted thinking can absorb information and process it and basically tell you what's going on in a logical fashion, as 12-year-olds can pretty much do. But can you trust it all the time? No, maybe not without the influence of feeling and intuition. In the last seat, behind the passenger, is a screaming 3-year-old child, pulling on his own hair, probably with a soiled diaper, and throwing a sippy cup full of juice at the head of the 20-year-old in front of him. Flipping out, making noise, opening the car door while the car is driving, and that is external sensing. And it is probably not someone you would want to have behind the wheel of the car, but it requires attention. That external sensing needs you to pay attention to it from time to time, because if you don't, you lose that real interaction with the world that you are in. External sensing is very much that. It's that interaction with the world. And it is a way, as an INFJ, that you are going to need to be balanced with. You cannot ignore sensing. You cannot ignore your environment and the things that are right in front of you in the present moment. That is where gratitude comes in. As abstract thinkers, we're often lost in our own heads as INFJs. We are thinking about possibilities. We are thinking about our experiences. We are thinking about the feelings of others. We're trying to logically make sense of all of those things. And sometimes, you guys know what I'm talking about, you get stuck in that NITI loop. And that is when your intuition is throwing information out and putting it all together, and you skip right over feeling, and you go straight to trying to logically think about it. And you're asking the 14-year-old to make sense of it without some guidance from one of the adults that's in the car, so to speak. And so that becomes really tricky, because then you're sort of stuck in that intuition putting pieces together, and then your logical brain trying to make sense of it, but probably not doing so all that accurately, and then intuition throwing more at you, and then your logical thinking trying to make more sense of that, and so on and so forth. And that's what gets us into that spiral of overthinking about things, which is a bad place to be, especially when it's something very emotional, or something very important to us, or something where we just are overloaded with information and with experiences, especially in intense things when you're talking about, stuff in a relationship or whatever else. And did they really say that? What did they mean? What was the expression on their face? All of these sorts of things start getting jumbled up by your intuition, and it is very difficult to make sense of it. And so we sort of escape that by using our feeling. Now, to engage sensing is to interact in the present moment with the real world. Think of it that way. So how do we do this with gratitude? First of all, let's think about this. What ways do you change when you are grateful for something that you have in your life? What ways do you come out of your shell a little bit when you're able to say thank you for a little thing and recognize a little thing? And it is hard for INFJs. We're not typically the type to stop and smell the roses, so to speak. It doesn't mean that we don't or don't like it. We certainly do. I mean, just like anybody, I like the feeling of sand in between my toes and the sound of the waves, and all of that is that sensory experience that really puts me in a very good place. But interacting with it and calling on that, you're not always at a beach. You're not always somewhere where awesome things are happening. A lot of times you might be in a city where it's overwhelming and it's noisy and it smells bad. So that's not great. That's not the kind of sensory experience that we really want to have, at least not one that brings us joy and brings us balance. So how do we get that? And that's where we use gratitude. 3 things happen when you practice gratitude every day. The first one is you start to appreciate the little things that are around you every single day, and you start to notice more of them. And it's kind of like that snowball effect, right? Roll a small snowball down a hill and eventually it turns into a big snowball. And practicing gratitude is much the same way. These little things that you have perhaps around you that just bring you a little bit of joy, just recognizing it and taking a moment to look at it, touch it, or what have you, and it gives you that kind of happy feeling. I'm going to give you an example because I have something right on my shelf that's something that I use for this very purpose. I was on a hike. This was quite a few years ago here where I live in New Hampshire. And I found this rock, right? And I just think it was really awesome because it's almost perfectly round. It's a hunk of granite. New Hampshire's just made out of granite anyway. And it's got some shine to it in different places, a little bit of that reflective kind of thing. But it's just sort of a neat rock ball. And I don't know, I saw it and I picked it up and I felt its weight. And I'm like, this is really neat because this thing has probably been rolling down this mountain that I was hiking on for however many hundreds or thousands of years potentially. I mean, who knows? And, just to have that in my hand and to feel that and just to see it and think that it's really cool is one of those things that I just have around me to sort of have gratitude for and appreciate. And it does help me think of, what life was like here, long ago. And that rock was, perhaps 1,000 feet in the air before it started getting pushed down by water and everything else. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. Those little things that you tend to see and appreciate when you start practicing noticing them and not just walking on by and ignoring the stuff that is right there around you. The second thing that happens when you start practicing gratitude is that you become a positive influence for yourself and for others that are around you. By saying thank you and by saying I appreciate you and by saying I love you and those kinds of words, you are filling your own heart just as you are filling the heart of somebody else. And that's a lot of power to have. That's really quite a gift if you think about it, because I can go ahead and reach out to somebody and out of nowhere, and perhaps I haven't talked to them in a week or two or whatever, and I can just send them a text and say, hey, you know what? I was thinking about you today and I just want to let you know that I appreciate you. And that's it. That's all it takes. And I know that person's going to read that text. They've heard from me. And maybe they're a friend that I just, in and out of touch with, and it's going to put a smile on their face, or maybe they're having a bad day and they'll throw their phone. I don't know. But usually it would put a smile on somebody's face to get a text like that because it feels good. You're being thought about and recognized and appreciated. And it feels good for me to do it. That's my external feeling kicking in. And it's doing it in a way that hammers on that external sensing. I'm sensing in that moment, I'm reaching out to somebody and I'm living in that exact second of my day where I take time out of everything to appreciate someone or something that is real and in this world in the present moment. And that's really cool. Think about how much you can influence and how many people you can heal and how many people you can make feel really wonderful just by saying a few words and taking the minute to escape your own head and your emotions and all of those intense, overwhelming things that are going on, perhaps particularly right now in the world that we're living in, and just stop it all. Stop the record from spinning, stop the noise from coming out, and just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to take this moment and I'm going to say, I appreciate you, and really sincerely mean it. Not like, hey, you're okay, nerd, or whatever, but in a very sincere way. And it makes a big difference to people. The last thing that I'm going to touch on, I mean, there's lots, but the last that I'm going to touch on in terms of gratitude is that it tends to give you an immediate appreciation of everything that is around you and everybody that is in your life. It gives you perspective about what is in your life and allows you to focus on those things. And by doing this repeatedly, you really do change your mind and you become a more positive person. And you can focus on these things and come to appreciate and recognize them in places you really never thought you'd find them. In small connections to people or things or animals or what have you. You learn to appreciate those tiny, tiny things. And it does give you this perspective of like, the world is bigger than me locked in my own head and overthinking something that is not productive. The world is bigger than my issues. I should be grateful. I should be grateful that I have a place to sleep, that I have a roof over my head, and that I have food. Think of just those little things that a lot of people, sadly, don't have and can't be grateful for. And perhaps they can find their own things to be grateful for. But for you, it's really easy to perhaps look around and say, you know what, I appreciate this thing. I can look at anything. I can look at a glass of water that I pour out of a tap in my house, because in many places in the world, that's not something that can happen. And that water doesn't exist. It's hard to think about that. That's tough. That's tough. That there's just to practice gratitude right now. That there's children, and those children don't have water that they can drink, and I do. I run down to my sink, I turn on a valve, water comes out, I can drink the water, and off I go. And so that is something that I can look at and say, I appreciate right now. And it helps me when it comes time for me to do something and, I have the urge to do some kind of community service or volunteer work. It makes it so much easier for me to reach out to those people because I know what I have and I know what I appreciate. And when I see somebody that perhaps doesn't have that and I can give them a leg up, well, why wouldn't I? It's kind of an awesome thing to do. So how do you practice gratitude? Well, you can do it one of any number of ways. And I'm going to give you a challenge in this video, a gratitude challenge. A lot of people keep a gratitude journal and every day just write a couple things in it. It doesn't take much. I'm thankful for the water that I have. I'm thankful that I'm healthy. I am thankful that, the people around me and the people that I love are healthy and they're doing well, and just thank you for health. You know what I mean? Thank the universe that I am okay and that I woke up this morning and that I am above ground. You can even go set the bar as low as you possibly can. That's fine too. How about having gratitude for a job that you have, that you're able to buy food and put it on the table. That's an important thing too. That you're happy, that you're happy and grateful that you can take care of somebody else. I'm very grateful for my pet ball python because I take care of her and she understands me and I understand her and we have a great bond. And that's something that I'm always thankful for because I take her out and I have her hanging out on me and it makes me feel good and it makes me feel like I'm appreciated by somebody else. And so I appreciate her, even though she doesn't really speak English. So I can say, I appreciate you. And she just kind of goes, bleh, and that's it. So that's fine too. So a gratitude journal is one way. Write something down. Here's a challenge that I'm going to give you, though. And this is what I want you to do, and I want you to think about, and I want you to make a concerted effort towards. 3 things. And I am grateful for you, and I appreciate you, and an I love you. To 3 different people. 1 person if you don't know 3 different people, and if you're introverting particularly hard right now. But to 3 different people. I want you to tell 1 person you love them, tell 1 person you appreciate them, and tell 1 person that you are grateful for them being in your life. The trick is, I want you to try this with people that you have met in real life. So it doesn't count if you just throw it in the comments. I mean, I appreciate it. It's nice when you tell me that you appreciate me, but like, let's not do that. I'm not letting you get out of this easy. I want you to reach out to somebody that is in your life, that you have met, that you have spoken to or touched or something, or have at least been face to face with. And I want you to tell somebody that you love them, tell somebody that you appreciate them, tell somebody that you have gratitude for them. You don't need to say anything else. That's it. That's all it takes. You can text them. You don't have to say it face to face. Most of us are all quarantined anyway, so there's that. But reach out to people and make somebody feel good and practice gratitude. It will help you live in this present moment, and it will let you be present in this exact space that you're in watching this video right now. And that engages your senses, and that is key to being a balanced INFJ. I really hope this video resonates with you. And I know this is it's an abstract concept, and it's not terribly comfortable for INFJs to go, for introverts in general, to just go reaching out and telling people that you love them. But take the step, because you're going to make somebody feel really, really good today if you do that. So please give it a try. And also in the comments, right down there, go ahead and tell me 3 things that you're grateful for. Give me 3 things, just a quick list. 1, I am grateful for my dog. 2, I am grateful for whatever you're grateful for. Okay, I'm not sure what you've got around you, but I'm sure that you can practice this and find 3 things that you have some gratitude for. And check out some other people's, check out some other comments and see what other people are grateful for. And I think you're going to find that you've got a lot in common with a lot of people down there. So thank you so much for watching. And as always, I appreciate you. I love you. I am grateful for you. And I cannot wait to see you on the next video. Thank you.